Hello guys, it's John Messenger. Time to do another Beyblade ranking. This time we are ranking every single Spriggan. So I'm taking a quick break from the ranking videos where I go through a whole line of bays. We're just focusing on a motif this time. I figured it'd be a nice little break in the action from all those. The next one will be on Sparking in January, towards the end of the month, and then I'll do DB/BU in February, and then we'll continue with more of these motif ones after that at some point, but I figure let's go and do Spriggan, right now, just why not? I guess like an end of the year surprise or something, I don't know. It's probably all I need to say, this has already gone on too long. Anyway, let's just get into the list. So, number 9, my least favorite Spriggan. This is, I can already tell this is going to be a controversial one, because I think a lot of people like this Spriggan. But, Lord Spriggan, I don't like Lord Spriggan. Now, it's not for, like, the reasons that you might initially think, and, yeah, it's more so kind of its appearance, also its parts. The layer itself, in terms of gimmicks, so you got the LR chip, the base and weight are like fused basically, it was the first to do that. You have the metal on the base, the rubber on the base, the base itself is LR, you have a lot going on there, which is cool. But I also like the burst stopper, so there's like everything on this layer. It's cool in that regard, but I don't like how it looks. I don't like when there is a lot of gold on layers. There's one exception to this rule, which we will get to later on the list, but this still doesn't, in my opinion, look very good. I don't like how the layer looks at all. But it's cool, so it kind of balances out in that regard. But the parts, Blitz and Dimension Dash, this is a Valkyrie disc, this is an Achilles driver. They don't, no, this is a... Yeah, like Dimension Dash doesn't really make much sense for Spriggan in my opinion. Blitz does not make any sense for Spriggan. I guess they got the color scheme right, but the part selection on this thing doesn't make enough sense for me. And I just do not like this layer design, but it has cool gimmicks, I'll give it that much, so I don't hate it. It's just like, not my favorite Spriggan for sure. Also, it was the only, well I guess Burst Spriggan also did not show up in the anime, but like, that actually makes a little bit more sense. Since, it's BU, there is no anime for it. But of every Spriggan that had I guess also the original Spriggan, again, that's like before and after the anime. While the anime was ongoing, Lord is the only one to not appear in the anime, and it definitely shows with the part selection, in my opinion. Number 8, Astral Spriggan. I don't really know what it is that I don't like about this bay. Also, yes, any of the flippable blades I am putting in the legend mode, because again, I don't like the way gold looks that much on Spriggans when there's a lot of it. This one's not overly offensive with the gold, but it's still, I don't really care for it. It does have metal. Again, it is an LR blade that's flippable, but yeah, it has the metal here. It has rubber underneath here. But, I don't know. The blue is kind of nice, the black is fine. The gold in the core is okay too. I don't mind when there's like some gold like this. That's fine. It's just when there's a ton of it. The Zero armor is really nice. Overdisc is great. The Quattro driver. This should have been on Burst Spriggan. I really like how you get 4 modes. You have like a free spinning metal ball, kind of a metal sharp, a rubber flat, and then sort of a unite type of driver. Which, yeah, having all of that is just great. But I just do not like this. Like, it's something about the shade of red they used. My next video is actually going to be a discussion video on colors in Beyblade Burst, which we'll get into that one with that video, but I don't know what it is about this red that I just do not like, but something, it's like it's slightly too dark or something. I don't know what happened and why I dislike it to the point of putting this in 8th place, but I do. Also, I don't like this core design. I really don't like the blue is fine, but like this middle part here, I do not like this core design at all. The gimmicks aren't really crazy on the layer, but they are still pretty good, so I don't really dislike it for that. I guess I wish there was maybe a little bit more rubber or something, but that's all I could really say. But yeah, I like this bay a lot aside from that stuff. It just, I don't know, just something about the layer design doesn't really captivate me very much. Number 7, World Spriggan. So you have an LR chip, cool. Actually a really nice chip design. You got a little bit of metal on there as well, pretty cool. World, I do not like the Requiem mode at all. It looks awful in my opinion, but at the same time, I'm not counting that as a negative because it is a good looking mode. So it is just nice to have that option of changing spin direction. So that's kind of what I'm just qualifying that as. The legend mode actually looks pretty nice. You know, the red, it works well here. Maybe it's kind of similar to Astral's, but I think that the translucent red, maybe it's just that the red just doesn't work well when in high quantities in that certain darker color. I don't know. But kind of the translucent red, I think, works nicely here. The rest of the red, the black, it all works, I would say. You got the gold here. I actually really like the black and gold, like, horns or whatever. That's pretty cool. So yeah, I like that a lot. Then you have two balance. It's very gold. I'm not a fan of that, but not a huge deal, I would say. You have the option to have it locked or in free spin. I have it in free spin. Also Unite Dash. Which just is maybe a little bit of a darker red, and I don't like the way that this rubber looks. It's supposed to be gold rubber, but if you've ever seen like a Unite driver that's been like left out in the sun, or even just some of them just age weirdly and they turn like a yellowish. This just looks like that, and I do not like that. But yeah, I think overall the bay itself, it looks fine enough, but my problem's kind of the gimmicks. I just feel like this bay wasn't overly interesting. I think Two Balance is a pretty nice addition. Unite Dash is fine. You have the LR. This is the first Spriggan with a flippable blade, which is cool. Or flippable ring, I guess, in this case. But there's like no metal or rubber. Well, I guess you have a little bit of metal here, but there's no rubber. It has these like burst stopper things, so we have to push in on them. I don't know. It has a solid design, but the gimmicks are just kind of whatever on this thing. It's not a bad Spriggan, but I'm not putting it any higher than this, so yeah. Number 6, Chosy Spriggan. This is the one bay that I think kind of gets away with the gold, because I don't like any of the Requiem modes that much, you know, like I said. And I don't like Lord, but this one, for some reason, I like. Maybe it's because it was the first one to use a ton of gold. Maybe that's why I don't mind this one. I don't know, but it looks pretty decent, I would say. You got the gold metal in the center there, got some red. No rubber, but you do have the burst stoppers, and these actually, like, properly come out. I can't pull that out with my hand, apparently. Okay. I thought I was able to. Whatever. I'm not gonna mess with that now. These parts come out to, like, act as burst stoppers. That's all you need to know. And it is LR, which is cool. So there, I would say overall, it looks pretty nice. Not the craziest, but like it looks nice overall. And gimmicks, no rubber, but I think that the burst stoppers on this one are good enough. And it was the first time we saw burst stoppers on Spriggan, so gimmicks are pretty good. Zero Wall Zeta Dash. Maybe would not have minded if the Zeta Dash was a bit darker, but I don't really mind this either. And Zero Wall, really good. I like the choice of black for wall. And I actually want to just mention really quick, I like the part selection on here a lot. If they weren't going to go all in on new parts with this thing, which they clearly didn't, this was actually a really smart move, because Spriggan Requiem's parts were 0 Zeta, so this takes 0 again, but now adds a frame onto it, of course, with wall. And then with Zeta, they make it a dash driver, so you have Zeta Dash now. Honestly, a really good move on their part, in my opinion. I like that they did that. I actually like this bay quite a bit. It's pretty nice. Could have gone without some of the gold or something, but like, it's still a good bay. Number 5, Legend Spriggan. Oh, this is a nice one right here. This layer just looks phenomenal. The gold axe is nice. The metal in the middle here is really cool. I like the heads with the black. It's such a nice looking bay. Also, it was the first Spriggan to include not only metal, but to be LR. So, this is our first ever LR Spriggan, which is great. And actually our first ever LR burst bay in general, which is kind of crazy, honestly. Underneath, we have 7 Merge. So 7, it's a nice disc, but I wish they had a frame on this thing. And if you watch my Choset's ranking video, you will know that I do not like when bays don't have frames, because so many in that season did not. I don't like when they do that, so it's unfortunate. I don't like Merge. Merge kind of sucks, I'm not going to lie. I don't know what they wanted to do with this driver, and I don't think they knew what they wanted to do with this driver either, so yeah. So to me, Legend Spriggan is like really weird because it has a good disc, but it's held back by not having a frame. The driver is kind of not great. But the layer is absolutely phenomenal and destroys the four before it. I would argue it's like the third best layer here, but the part selection is just not the best. But the layer's cool enough, and the fact that it was the first dual spin Spriggan makes me put it at least in the middle of the list, you know. Number 4, Spriggan, the original Spriggan. This layer just looks clean. Has a nice shape. Got the red, not too much red, but you got the red in the middle here. It's a nice design, honestly. Spread was a solid disc. Fusion kind of sucks, but it's the first balance driver. I can be a bit nicer to it. And I think it's a first balance driver. Yeah, it works. So I just think this bay, it just looks nice overall. I definitely like how this bay looks quite a bit. Just got the red, a lot of clear, you know, metal, dark red. It all just works in my opinion. And outside of that, you know, it's an early bay. It didn't need to do much else. The shape, I think, worked as a balance type. The disc works as that too. The driver introduces us to balance type drivers. You know, I think this bay is just overall good. Nothing crazy, but it's good. And you know what? It just has that consistency to it, so I like it. Number 3, Storm Spriggan. Yeah, I am a big fan of Storm Spriggan. So the layer takes kind of the same idea as the original, but kind of, I guess, adds to it a little bit, and then also just makes a ton of red, and I think that looks really cool. I like the red here as well. S in the center there, which is cool. See the face. Yeah, it just looks nice. And then you have Knuckle, which it kind of just feels like a cooler spread to me, and then Unite, which feels like an actual proper balance driver. Because Fusion's a little bit weird, and I don't like it that much, but Unite is very, very cool. So, like Fusion, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen in it, but it's just kind of basic. So, Unite, I think, is a good expansion of that. And yeah, again, I don't have a lot to say about this bay other than it's just kind of consistent. But I think it's consistently good like Spriggan, but in a way that's just kind of one-ups the original Spriggan. So that's why I put it right above it. So yeah, definitely a very cool bay though, regardless. Yeah, come on. One of the nicest dual layers, or at least kind of up there anyway. Number 2, Spriggan Requiem. Spriggan Requiem is interesting. There's actually a lot of gold on this bay. Actually, the entire underneath is pretty much gold, but that part's hidden. It's fine. We have the gold here. I think it works actually pretty well. Still got a lot of red, which I think is a nice color. You got the kind of blue in the center, which looks really nice as well. This layer just looks so good, I will say. It's a really nice looking layer. Yeah. Also, got a lot of gimmicks. You have, of course, LR carrying that over from Legend. Also, the kind of metal part in the center here. Both of these being carried over from Legend, but also they added on rubber, which is the first time Spriggan ever had rubber, which, yeah, this is really, really cool. Part selection, Zero Zeta. Zero is a really good disc, but again, there's no frame on it, which is unfortunate. And then Zeta, I don't care for Zeta that much. It's very okay. You got the ball driver, you got, you know, the kind of fusion type of driver, you got the weird kind of Quake-esque attack driver. I don't really care for Zeta very much. It was outclassed immediately. Like, Quattro came out and actually had some stuff going on with it. Zeta didn't. And again, it kind of just falls into that category like Legend Spriggan, where it has a cool disc but no frame, and the driver's just very... Okay, well, Merge, I just don't really like Merge. This thing is just kind of whatever, Zeta. So I think it does better than Legend in that regard, but it's not crazy. But the layer is amazing. So, yeah, this thing is just so nice. I really, really like Spriggan Requiem. And it's my favorite Spriggan for almost 5 years, but it was taken over by my number 1 pick here, which is a Burst Spriggan. Okay, this thing is just crazy. So the Requiem mode on this one is like okay, it's fine, But again, having that utility for it is fine. Like, I don't mind it being there since I don't have to see it, you know. But if I want to use it, it is still underneath there. So by saying that, you know, it is LR as well. Has the flippable blade, which is cool. You have the metal, similar to Astral, which is nice. You got the rubber. This time it's actually a decent bit, which is very, very cool. Also, there is sort of a burst stopper, kind of like the Lord burst stopper, where it's more like a little burst resistor of sorts. But it is there, and it does help, so that's nice. So I think for gimmicks, this layer is crazy. It's very much like a Lord Spriggan in that regard. Yeah, LR core as well, of course. And then you have the 8 armor, which has like kind of the axe designs on it, which is great. Makes perfect sense for Spriggan. And the design of this thing. So I mentioned, you know, the Requiem modes, whatever, but the Legend mode looks great. The red here seems to be a little bit lighter than Astral, which I think looks better. Plus you got the black here, which is nice. And then the core is like clear, but with some red, gold, and black on it. And I think it's hard to really say that this isn't the best looking Spriggan. Requiem, as nice as Requiem is, I kind of do prefer when there's more red in this thing. And I think it looks great. The parts, okay, so Spread Dash is a really cool disc. I kind of wish they would have made a BU lock disc, but at the same time, I'm not mad about it. I think Spread Dash works perfectly fine here. And it's a cool disc, you know, it calls back to other Spriggans as well. Fusion Dash. Same color as the original Spriggan, but now in dash form. No. Fusion Dash, I think, while it is a callback, and I guess thematically you could say that's kind of cool, but at the same time, nah. This should have been, in my opinion, Quattro Dash. Same color as Astral's, but just a dash version. That would have been the best possible way, and this would have easily been number 1, in my opinion. But I actually had to think about that quite a bit, because I don't like that this thing has Fusion Dash. But then again, I'm like, okay, but I don't really care for a, you know, Requiem stock combo either. But it, you know, still got number 2, and I really like it a lot anyway, and I kind of feel the same about this one. I like it a lot regardless of the driver. And yeah, the driver definitely holds it back a little bit, but it's still number 1 anyway, just because of how cool this thing is. But yeah, everything else aside from the driver is great. This layer especially, just, it looks so good. Yeah, this is my number 1 Spriggan, right there. So, Burst Spriggan, number 1. Yeah, no, that's it. Definitely my favorite of these Spriggans. Even though I feel like we kind of did not need a second DB Spriggan, I'll be honest. If we're only getting 1, I kind of wish we would have just gotten Burst and not Astral, but you know what, we have both, and yeah, Burst is the best, so there it is. So yeah, that's my whole Spriggan ranking video. That's everything I have to say about Spriggan. But like I said earlier, my next video will be in January for the ranking videos, which will be for Sparking. February will be DB and BU, and then after that, I don't know, maybe March or April or something, I'll continue on to some of the other bays, probably Ragnarok next, and then Kirbyus. So, a few more months till we get to more of these motif rankings, but we will get there eventually. So yeah, that's all for this video though, so thanks for watching, and bye-bye.